for 2025, that has been me and you's biggest like growth as leaders.
Are you wrapping cars more than 12 hours a day, every day, working nonstop but can barely get by? Burnout, missing deadlines, and wondering just how much longer you can keep this up?
That was us too. We started our wrap shop buried under $250,000 in debt, and it felt absolutely impossible. But we dug out, built a profitable shop, and are still in the trenches of owning and operating a wrap shop. We're here to share what we learned along the way so that you don't make the same mistakes that we did.
And we're here to help you with the business side of the wraps, like pricing, building a team, streamlining your systems, ultimately so that you can run your shop and your shop stops running you.
Welcome to the Wrap Ops Podcast, brought to you by Wrap Fam Unleashed. So, as we reflect on 2025 and everything that happened with our wrap shop, we're really realizing that this year was not a year of like some cool growth hack. So, I don't have like a secret of like, do this one thing and it'll make you mega rich. It was really the year of fixing all of the very boring things that we avoided for so long, and just kind of like bite size tackled. So, I would say this year was the year we matured.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so we definitely matured a lot this year and had a more systematic approach to the way we tackled things. And I would say most of these lessons that we're about to talk with you today came purely from being very uncomfortable with the way the business was.
hmm
Like that, like you walk into the shop feeling and it just feels wrong. Like it's not the right staff, it's not the right customers, it's not the right like product even of like how you're selling it. And just figuring out how we can put all of this together to fix our problem. So essentially, we have taken all of the education that we have learned in this past year and condensed it for you so that you do not have to scour the internet or other podcasts the way that we had to, and then try to figure out how to relate that to a wrap shop. So, we're coming at you today with our top 5 lessons that if we had to rebuild our wrap shop tomorrow, we would start with this right off the rip instead of implementing it 7 years later, 8 years later.
Yeah.
So, anywho, Andrew, take it away. Lesson one.
Perfect. So I would start off, if I could be like a little meme, I would be that guy that sits at the table with everything on fire all around him and he just goes,
It's
"It's
fine.
fine." And that is lesson number one, which is not all problems deserve your attention. If you are the entrepreneur listening to this, um, hope you like entrepreneurship. There is always something on fire. There is always a problem that needs solved, but not all problems need solved right now, and not all problems need your attention, which ultimately leads us to that lesson number one. And that was a big thing for us for years was, oh, there's a problem over here. We got to go put our attention to it. And we would only focus on it long enough until we saw another problem, which could literally be like later that day or the next day. And then we
Mhm.
would run over here, squirrel, another problem, another fire we got to put out. And we kind of ran that hamster wheel for years that really just gets you nowhere. It gets you like all these problems all like inching towards a solution. Um, None of them fully solved. And some of them, honestly, the fire was so small, like who cares?
Yeah, I was about to say some might have been like a candle flame, while others were like a full dumpster fire. But
Right.
sometimes the dumpster fire would be like so daunting to tackle that we're
hmm
like, we're going to focus on blowing out this candle.
Yeah.
So, like to put a weird analogy to it.
Uh,
So,
so the as far as deciding, so obviously the flip side of that is deciding what is your problem or that fire that you're going to put out is really just kind of broke it down into like four steps of how to identify which problem is going to be the one that you want to actually focus on. And that first one is just identifying the constraint. So you referenced it to doing like a full body scan. So literally like lock yourself in the closet, like don't get any interruptions and just,
I don't know why he said closet.
yeah, sorry, maybe not the closet. But
Lock yourself in a closet and
yeah.
scan your body for your business.
Lock yourself in your office, and forgive me if my throat is a little raspy. I am a little under the weather, so you guys are gonna have to deal with it. But
The plague's going around.
it really is.
Yeah, last episode was me all nasally. So,
Mhm.
but go ahead.
um, so anyway, lock yourself in the office. Give yourself some time to think. That's right around the holidays. Hopefully, you have some time to be able to do this, but really just start thinking of the problems that you're having within your business. Literally, like write them down.
Yeah, it helps for sure if you write them down so
Hmm.
that you can see like, oh, like employee uniforms is probably not your biggest fire.
Right,
But
right.
there was a time I thought it was.
And then,
So,
from that, you want to then kind of move. So after step one, you've kind of just wrote down all the problems that you have, no matter how big or small they are. Write them all down. You're going to want to then try to identify what is like, if I could only pick one problem to solve on this list, if you didn't, you'd had no choice, you weren't allowed to pick multiple. Which one would you pick? Which one would move the needle the most? And sometimes that might be like a revenue or a financial needle move. Maybe it's like a stress, like, maybe it won't necessarily move revenue, but, like, you as a human will just be a lot more at ease and zen and happy coming to work, and that's arguably just as valuable, if not more valuable than a revenue goal. But anyway, identify that one big problem that matters to you, and then move to step 2, which is identifying, or drawing out the root causes to that. So the book, the kind of the whole traction EOS model series, an analogy that I've got from learning through there was just say the main issue was someone has bad breath. The root cause could be, that person doesn't brush their teeth, or that person just ate garlic, or that person eats so much garlic and onion that when they sweat, you literally smell it on their sweat. So that's kind of a dumb analogy, but as you can see, like one issue of someone having bad breath could actually have four kind of wildly different
yeah, and we've
potential
talked
root
about that
causes.
a lot in previous episodes too of you should tackle your problems from more than one angle.
Yeah.
So it's never like, "Hey, I can't build a team, I need to pay them more." Like, okay, that might be one of 10
Hmm.
things that you might need to do. So, kind of having an open mind, that took me a while to learn. So, super important to
Yeah.
emphasize that. So, go back to previous episodes if you wanna see further on how we talk about that.
But yeah, no, as far as that, identify the constraint and then just go to those root causes. Pretty much list as many as you possibly can that might be the reason that that main issue is an issue. And then step 3, and you can actually probably do this exercise, maybe even the root cause part of this exercise, with your team. Step 3 would be to bring your team in on it. No matter how big or small your team is, whether you have one team member or 15 or 20 team members, getting your whole team in on that conversation and identifying what is that one big constraint or issue to the business that is worth solving, and getting them, just to understand why we're focusing on it. I mean, shoot, there's probably a solid chance, depending on what the issue is, that they might even be able to help.
Mhm.
And if they can't help, they at least know you're working on a big problem. So,
Yeah.
and I think that's kind of a big thing as well. We've definitely made the mistake so many times over the years that we would be working on an issue, but then not vocalize to the team the big issues that we're working on behind the scenes. So they think while they're wrapping the cars, even though I'm literally just on the other side of the building in my office working, they think I'm scrolling on Facebook or I'm out on the yacht or something along those lines. So really, that step 3, getting your team on board with what that big issue is, that will also allow your team some resilience to the other fires that are burning around them,
Mhm.
because they'll understand, like, okay, that is a problem that is on fire, but my manager, my owner, my boss, whatever, doesn't need to stop solving the big one that he's identified or she's identified and come solve this problem for me. And shoot, who knows? You might get lucky and they might realize they can just solve that problem and not actually have to bother you. That's like next level to all of this when
Yeah.
your team gets bought in to solving problems on their own. And then step 4 is
Wait, wait,
just,
wait, can I stop you?
yeah, sorry.
So back on step 3 though, the other thing too is you really wanna relate to how it affects them.
Yeah.
So, like, for example, at our shop, going into 2025, we had 2 team members,
Hmm.
and so I had to say, "We need to hire more people," but why does that matter to them? Because 'Cause they're gonna still keep doing the same job they've been doing. So, we had to break it down of literally we did, like, in our quarterly meeting,
Hmm.
how this affects you. If we have more people on staff, it is less stress for you.
Yeah.
So you should want more people on the team because if someone calls out, you're not working Saturday, basically.
Yeah.
So don't forget that step of even if you're working on marketing, why are you working on marketing? How does that affect them?
Mhm.
So if we're working on marketing, maybe the reasoning is, okay, we have a team now, but we need sales.
Right.
So if we
And
don't market, you don't get hours. And that's why we're working on that.
and
So,
to that point of even when we did, we just were looking at 2 team members saying we're rebuilding the team, that's the goal this year. That was maybe the 2nd time that we've had to tear the team down and
mhm.
then rebuild because the culture was just not right. The foundation was just not right
And they were happy
to build.
that we were fixing it because they
Yeah.
were like, yeah, it's been miserable here.
Yeah, they were super happy. And then we had to then enforce and then bring the new team members that we just brought on into
Mhm.
that mission and let them know like, yeah, this is a little weird. We actually have more new people than we have original people at this point, but these were the issues we were having. This is what is, on fire, and this is the problem that we're going to solve. And we need your help to make sure that we don't rebuild it the same way. We need your input on making sure we have good culture. And now that same speech gets reiterated every time right before we hire somebody new.
Yeah,
And
it's in every onboarding.
yeah.
So even when you hire new people, you immediately let them know your business's biggest issue and that the whole team's working on it.
Mhm.
However, their job might be wrapping, might be print operator, might be front desk or whatever. And we touch on that later. But okay, step 4.
Yeah, step 4 is, just accountability. So, you've identified the problem, you've got your team in, now the absolute worst thing you could do is then don't give them any updates, don't make any progress on it, and then squirrel, there's another fire and you go run and put that out.
Mhm.
Um,
Which we have done.
yeah, which and you when you're getting caught up in the day to day, you think that's what you have to do.
Mhm.
Where there's fires that you just maybe they are important fires or urgent fires, but they may not be important fires. So you need to hopefully have some team members or start growing some team members to like delegate that. Like
Mhm.
we're in a wrap shop. You guys are all, taking apart hardware and a clip bus or whatever. And if you're like how we used to be, anything that broke, anything that we would need to reorder, all came to me. Like I would, oh, let me go get the screw for that. Let me go look up and figure out the part I need for that. And that would take me off of trying to solve the more important fire. Where now it's flipped. Like when they come to me and they say, "Hey, we had, a hardware issue here." It's just, "Here's the card, keep me in the loop, get what you need, solve the
Mhm.
problem."
Yeah.
And that is now a fire that I don't have to personally do because our team has bought into like they can solve their own problems.
Yeah, and I think that's like leadership to the team and then like leader to leader. Like we have our accountability in our owners meetings that we've talked about in previous episodes. And a big thing that like we'll catch each other doing is like in the owners meeting, we'll digress to be like, oh, this is a problem, this is a problem, this is a problem. And I'll be like, okay, great. I'll write it down just to get it out of our mind. But we're focused on sales right now.
Yeah,
So I'm going to keep us on track for sales. And usually you're like, okay. And vice versa if I do that too. So you kind of have to like, if you're lucky enough to have a business partner with you, you have to keep them on track too. And if it's just party of one, then you have to be able to figure out yourself how to stick to your own game plan and not detract.
yeah.
So
I mean, shoot, have
yeah.
a weekly meeting with your team where you're going over your issues and what you're doing towards working on it. That I know pretty much all of December, our one of our biggest team issues was health insurance. Like the cost of health insurance went up like 40% across the board.
Hmm.
So that was like a major fire of like, holy crap.
Hmm.
And the whole team knew that like we were having issues. I was shopping, group policies here, and each week or every other week when we were having team meetings, I was keeping them updated of like, we're gonna get it. Like, we're having a baby, so this is obviously very important personally, but professionally, we'll get it figured out for the team.
Yeah.
And but anyway, the team knew not to start overloading with, oh, here's all these issues and stuff that were happening. The team kind of stepped up, were able to handle and manage their own because they knew those kind of more important um, fires that I was actively working on.
Yeah.
So,
Cool. That's
and
lesson one.
that's lesson one. So, um,
Go for the big dog problems.
yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, okay, moving on. Lesson 2. I'm gonna
Cool.
let you introduce this one too because you've had a huge hand in this one.
Yeah, absolutely. So, lesson 2 for us, and then I would say small disclaimer here, this definitely Uh, there's wrap shops that operate that don't do it in the way that we've done it, but we have found this is the best way for us to do it when we don't have a whole team full of crazy experienced team members. We hire green and we train them up to what
That
we
being
need.
said, we don't always hire green. We just if you know how to rap and you need a job,
That's fair. Yeah, go to.
reach out. But for the most part, we hire a lot of green in
Mhm.
Old Dayton, Ohio, over here. But go ahead.
Absolutely. So, lesson 2 is just breaking down the wrap process. This changed everything for us. And what I mean by that is not, this is how you squeegee and this is how you cut, but more of just all the way from the customer drops the vehicle off to they, sign their pre inspection form, turn in the key to the team member, had that flow to the back of the shop all the way to the pre-inspection of the photos and the light check and the hardware check to the vehicle coming inside the shop. Then it needs to, have the whole hardware breakdown, needs to get cleaned and prepped. The material needs to get, laminated and prepped and cut and boxed and ready for the project to the actual install to then play that in reverse
Hmm.
of put it all back together, clean it up, do the post inspection, bring it outside, call the customer, give them the key.
Yeah, it's actually a lot of steps
Yeah,
in there.
it is quite a bit of steps. But breaking it down has helped us become way more efficient and it has allowed us to operate at a high level with a relatively green team because we kind of live by the phrase of just installers install. So once we can get an installer trained and they know how to actually install, like if I can hand you material and you can go wrap the whole vehicle, my goal as the manager is to make sure that you don't have to do anything else.
Yeah, and if you think about it, if you yourself took the time to train an individual on how to rap, and then you have them cleaning a car, it's just kind of like, what a waste, because they're
They have the skill
they
to
have
wrap
the
the car.
skill to do
Mhm.
something that is more income producing than just cleaning a car.
Yeah,
And back in the day, we would have one installer do the whole process.
yeah,
And there's many shops out there that just here's the keys, this is your project, which is how we deal with subcontractors,
mhm,
but not with our team. We have it broken more down.
yeah, yeah, and that's I don't know. It's really helped us a ton. Like we have a print operator now, and their entire job is to click print, laminate, and prep the material, get it in the box. Uh, Ideally, a week before.
And
They're
they also handle all reprints.
yeah.
Like, and the team knows to go directly to this person
Mhm.
if they need a reprint, and then it gets tracked on a log so that we can like actually know, hey,
Yeah,
we're
that
pulling a lot of vinyl and blah blah blah.
that way
But
our reprint cost doesn't get out of hand without
yeah.
realizing it. But um, yeah, so print operator, that's literally their job is to prep the material, get it in a box. Our installers used to have to prep their own material before they installed.
Hmm.
And then we have a shop ops assistant position now at this point, and that's kind of your Swiss Army knife, as you will. So they're doing the vehicle cleaning, they're doing the pre and post inspections, they're doing some hardware on the vehicles. We do our current team makeup. We do have a member on our team that is just a little bit more experienced in hardware than your average person. So the real complicated hardware will kind of get delegated to him just for that expertise.
And it helps that this person likes
Yeah, they love
it.
doing it. So it's just
So it's
like,
always weird when someone doesn't like doing hardware, and we
mhm,
hear that in a lot of interviews too. So that's a good question to ask is like, what are your feelings on hardware?
yeah.
And that could be a selling point for you if you can take that off their plate.
And yeah, and that person's job, even in their orientation and onboarding and all of that is, I relate it to like football of like, Joe Burrow and, T Higgins and like they're all getting all the headlines and like everyone loves them, but as we know, as Bengals fans, they're nothing if the offensive lineman isn't blocking
Mhm.
or the defensive line isn't, making defense isn't playing well. So we have that analogy of from that position is like, yeah, you're not on the highlight reel on Instagram and all of that of, you know, throwing the bumper of a car, but you are just as important as any other position within what we've built here.
Yeah.
So.
And they also keep the shop clean.
Yeah.
So same thing, like we try to not have the installers sweeping the floors
Mhm.
so that they can keep a squeegee in their hand. When you talked about if a clip busts or something, that's a good person to send to O'Reilly's or AutoZone or wherever,
Mhm.
so that we can get that part. So they're like you said, Swiss Army knife, so they can kind of do whatever, and they are at a lower pay because they don't have the skill,
Yeah.
and you don't really have to like you teach them how to wrap a car, but or sorry, you teach them how to clean a car, but that's something that can be done so much faster
Oh, yeah.
than teaching how to
Yeah.
wrap. So the pay is kind of based on like how much time does it take me to train you to
Mhm.
do this job, essentially.
Yeah,
So
and I mean, that's a foot in the door. If you were like us, I'm sure if you put an ad out for an installer, you get, you know, dozens or hundreds of applicants and no one has experience.
yeah, we get a
Okay,
lot of
like,
I have no experience, but I would love to learn. And I'm like, this is an experienced installer ad.
yeah, perfect. We have this position that is available for you.
Yeah.
And then it also allows you to, test them. Like you're watching their work ethic when you can train them in 2 minutes how to do something or in 2 days how to do something, and then you get to watch their effort, their attention to detail, their willingness to um, do the sucky stuff, like
Hmm. Yeah.
do the work that no one really necessarily loves or wants to sign up for. It gives you a lot more confidence when it's like, okay, let's act now, get a squeegee in your hand and let's start giving you some opportunity to learn and grow and progress.
Yeah. And
um,
that goes into the next step. We have installer apprentice.
mhm,
So that's they kind of stop cleaning
yeah.
and they get more into decals and then go into commercial wraps from there and kind of start learning the skill of install.
Yeah.
And then the next one is, of course, your installer that typically can install anything. And then we have two other positions after that. Well, it's broken down further, but you can be a trainer, and then we
Mhm.
have management positions as well. So we tried to build a career ladder that would motivate people to grow, but then also the pay is according to what type of work you're doing and the amount of skill and time it takes to go into that. So
Yeah, and
that's pretty much
you
the
progress
gist.
through, like, obviously wrapping box trucks and trailers, a little bit easier than wrapping transit vans, a little bit easier than wrapping, sedans and color changes, and once you get into that, so there's those kind of tiers to work through, and at the end of the day, no one is too good to clean, so it's not like your
Yeah.
A-list, installer will never have a rag and a cleaner in their hand. The goal from management, from an efficiency standpoint, the goal is that they shouldn't have to.
Hmm.
Every now and then, even today, one of our A-team installers, it was like, "I need you to just spot clean prep the piece I need you to install and get installing,"
Hmm.
while the, more junior installer that was on the project with them finished the touch up and cleaning on the rest of the project before getting their piece started. So
Yeah. And you'll kind of learn those like little efficiency hacks. Like you started having the shop ops interns actually work on Saturday
mhm,
so that the customer drops off. We'll call and say, hey, can you drop off early so we can get a head start? They'll drop off maybe Friday and we'll get the vehicle cleaned Saturday so the installer can start first thing Monday morning.
yeah,
So there's all these little time hacks you can do too to also get the job out sooner. And then the big thing here is that there's not one single person responsible for the entire process.
right,
So everyone's working together as a team. And then on our paperwork, we have like digital paperwork per vehicle. They have to sign off on what part they personally took care of. So we could go back if a piece failed. I know who cleaned it, who installed it, who edge sealed it, and I know who did the pre and post inspection on it.
yeah,
So it's just like initials everywhere to kind of add that accountability layer as well. Because I've heard that come up from other shop owners of like, well, who do you blame when something goes wrong? And it's like, well, the whole team's to blame for one thing.
mhm,
But we do have the paperwork to where we try to make it more of like a learning thing than like a, hey, you suck. Like, how'd you mess this up? It might just be they didn't understand how to do the recessed, or maybe they are rushing cleaning or something like that. And then after so many times of the learning method, then you know it's more of like a discipline
yeah,
type thing, and that's a whole separate thing. But anywho, that's breaking down the rat process, and we did that this year, and that I think has been
yeah,
huge for us. So, and we even have it a little bit with the design by having the print operator
mhm.
separate. We used to have the same person, which was you, uh, sell the job, do the design, and do the print. and it was just so
Yeah.
chaotic. So even like that whole thing is split up. So the more you can do that, I think definitely the better. So moving on to our third lesson.
This one's all you. Yeah,
Yeah, this
this I've learned what I know from this, I've learned from you. So lesson 3 is all you.
and I can't take all the credit. I have learned a lot. If you listen to Layla Hermosi, big shout out to my girl. As if I know her, I wish. But if you know Alex and Layla Hermosi, they have separate podcasts, and Layla specifically talks a ton about hiring, onboarding, building a team. And since that was our big goal this year, that was the specific content. So back to that first thing of like figuring out your fire, I was even really weird of like not listening to content that talked about other issues
Yeah.
because I was like, this is what I'm solving, and I don't want to get too excited about something else and feel like I need to fix it.
Mhm.
So like every now and then you'd send me like a sales podcast or something, and I'm like, that's great. I can't focus on that right now. So that being said, I focused a lot on Layla's content, and this is my wrap shop version of what I have taken away from everything and also implemented. It's a few times has crashed and burned, but this is like the secret sauce I have come up with that has worked really well for us. So the first thing is you cannot rush a hire. I've done that so many times where you're just like, we need someone right now. We're drowning.
Mhm.
And I'm like, okay, let me put an ad out on Indeed. Oh, great. 10 people applied right away. I'm only going to interview these two because they look fine. And the interview went, but we really need someone. So let's just bring them in. And 10 out of 10 times, that person lasted anywhere from 6 weeks to 6 months.
Mhm.
And the ending was never like a nice, like, oh,
Never.
I'm gonna put in my 2 weeks. I got a different job. It was always like a middle finger up. I hate you
Yeah.
guys. Out the door,
And I
which
wouldn't even say they've ever even made it fully, like, through the onboarding process when it was, like, a rushed hire.
yeah.
To the
Well, there
point.
was no onboarding
Yeah.
process in the very beginning. When it was rushed, it was just like day one, here's a squeegee. Hope you know how to wrap.
Yeah.
Or here's a car. I need you to clean it. And I'm not going to teach you how to do it at all. And then I'm going to be mad at you when you do it wrong,
Yeah.
basically. So that is exactly how to do it wrong. And we definitely
Yeah.
can
And
say
I
we
think
did it that way.
to your point of perfecting the hiring and onboarding process, like, those are 2 different things, both equally important.
Yeah.
Like, you can't have a good hiring process and then have no onboarding.
Yeah, and that was something I learned too. So we got really good at hiring and then really sucked at onboarding.
Yeah.
And I was like, what is going wrong? So I went back to these, just researching and what other business owners are doing. And that's when I was like, oh, I'm doing nothing for onboarding. So anyhow, the biggest thing that helped me when trying to perfect the hiring process is to be efficient in your process
Yeah.
because most likely if you're doing the hiring, you're not just HR for your wrap shop. You're probably doing 500 other things. So the I kind of wrote a couple steps here of how I did that. So the first one is you want to select your hire date and then work your interview process backwards. So what I mean by that is you can say, okay, I really maybe an installer quit, or maybe you just need to add an installer to the team. So I'm going to say, okay, ideally, based off our calendar and our schedule and whatnot, this person's first day could be February 1st. So that means, okay, if I backtrack 2 weeks, that's going to be the selection date. If I backtrack a week from that, that's going to be, the end of their in-person interview. A week from that might be the first person or whatever time frame that
Mhm.
you need. But just start with like, what do you need their first day to be and work backwards? Because you may need to be more rushed than normal. We've been in that spot where I'm like, like I need to get someone in here in 3 weeks versus six.
Mhm.
And then we've even had a time where I think we were like 2 months out where I
Yeah.
needed someone, but I didn't need them to start until 2 months later. So
And
anyway,
and to that point, from what we've learned the hard way, and what you kinda talked about with rushing, so if you heard between the lines there, uh, we're pretty much never going to hire and onboard within, like, 2 weeks. Like, it's 3 to 6 weeks at least from when it's like, "We need this position and this hire."
yeah, I would say 3 is
Like,
our
we're moving
rushed.
to get someone in here
Um,
within 3.
yeah, and I advertise that, so that kinda led to my next point. In the job description on Indeed or wherever you post your ad or your job ad, I put the entire time frame. Like, we're I'm going through applicants from this date range to this date range. And then I'm doing phone interviews from this date range, in-person interviews this date range, selection date is on this, and your first day of work is this.
And that's just in the description.
Yeah, that's in the description, and oddly enough, I cannot tell you how many people have told me in the interview how much they appreciated that,
Yeah.
because they're not left wondering, like, "Is this person going with me? Are they not? Why haven't they called me?" It eliminates a lot of the, like, "Hey, just checking in on my application," and I'm not talking about, like, a follow-up, like, "I wanna make sure my application gets pulled." I'm
Mhm.
talking just about a general, like, "Did you even look at it?"
Yeah.
Um so I advertise those dates, and then I also advertise anything that I think I'll get pushback on. So for example, our front desk person we most recently hired, I put on there that we would require at-home training to be completed. So a virtual training, and I put the dates of like it will be due on this date. Because in my mind, if you have an issue with that, then just don't apply for the job. So
Yeah.
I'm very upfront about anything that I think I might get pushback on, and there's no surprises. And what's interesting is we used to get, let's say, 100 applications for a position. Once I started getting this detailed, I would get less. And at first, that made me really nervous because I'm like, I have 50, but I noticed the quality was like way higher.
Way higher.
So it's weird because it seems like you're doing worse, but the quality is better. So it's actually better in the long term. And then something else that I learned is that your best hires are on the market for about 4 days. So someone's looking for a job and they're really good, they're snagged up in like 4 days.
Mhm.
So when you put that job ad out, you need to immediately like set up notifications to where you get a ping of like this person applied and go ahead and like either send them the invite to the next step of the interview or Indeed has like the automatic rejection and it'll send them. I think I have mine set to where it'll send a rejection letter like 3 days later. So it's not like you get a rejection 20 seconds after you submitted
Yeah. Yeah.
your
Yeah.
application. But you need to move quickly. And I have even, if I've had a job ad out and for some reason, like I'm still working on my like phone interview, I have even reached out and said like, "Hey, I love your application. I'm going to be in contact with you by, the next 2 days." To schedule an interview just so that I have that like touch point with them so that I don't lose them. It's kind of like sales. Like you want to like hit them while they're
Mhm.
hot, basically. So, anywho, advertise your hiring time frame. It has gone really, really well. And then my next one is when you start moving through the process of booking your interviews to use some sort of self scheduler. We've used Calendly. I now see that Google Calendar has it for free, which
Mhm.
is nice. So you can do that, and that'll essentially give you a link where you can put your own availability. You can enter, is it a phone interview, is it an in-person interview, the location, the attire. Calendly even does like reminders. I think Google does too. I can't remember. If you want to remind them before the interview, I actually have mine on because I'm like, at that point, if you miss the interview, I don't really know how I
Yeah.
could have helped you anymore.
No excuses.
Yeah. So anyway, the scheduler saves you so much time and not this whole can you do Tuesday at 2?
Yeah.
I also have a feature on there that allows them to reschedule their own time. And
Mhm.
I've even had people cancel, like through the booking link, they will cancel their own interview. And I'm like, okay. Sometimes they give a reason, sometimes they don't. But it's just kind of nice because it eliminates you from it.
Mhm.
So highly recommend that. And in that process, like I said, I do a phone interview first and then I do an in person. The phone interview is just to narrow people down because you can tell right off the rip on a phone interview, like if this person's actually interested, if they're capable of talking.
Yeah.
Pending if the role needs to talk, I'm more strict on my front desk person than I am on an installer on like how well they can talk back and forth with me.
Mhm.
Because if you're customer facing, you have to be able to talk on the phone.
Yeah.
So that itself is an assessment on how you talk on the phone. Um, the phone interview also is a big deal. So many people miss the phone interview. So that's kind of weirdly nice because you're just weeding yourself out. So you're making my list smaller of like who's qualified and who's not.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many people don't answer and then like try to call an hour later. And I'm just like, nope. Like I
Yeah.
know my
You
calendar
missed.
thing reminded you. So anyway, throughout this whole thing, there's kind of like little mini tests in there that accidentally happen.
Mm.
And one big thing I wanted to note was an example that happened with our current front desk person, because that was our most recent hire. So it's like freshest in my mind.
Mhm.
I put my timeframes on there for the scheduling, and I think I had it from like 1 to 4:30. I learned a long time ago if you do the whole day, it kind of like it takes your whole day and
Mhm.
people spread out. But if you give a smaller window, you can get a lot done a lot faster. And ideally, a person will reach out to you and say, like, I can't make any of these times work. Do you have a different time? And that's exactly what our current front desk person did. She actually was on vacation when she applied for the job
Yeah.
and was trying to coordinate getting off the plane and coming into her in person interview, in which I was like,
Let's just do tomorrow or the
yeah,
next day after that. Yeah.
I think she was nervous, she, like, wasn't gonna get the job over it, and I actually came in on a Sunday,
Yeah.
to interview her, and she was like, "Oh, I didn't think, like, you'd come in on a weekend," but I'm like, "Oh, I don't like, it's fine," you
Yeah.
know? But I really appreciated the preemptive, like, "I have an issue," and she immediately was like, "I can do this, here's my solution."
Mhm.
So that told me a lot about her before we even got to the in-person
Yeah.
interview,
Especially as for that position, which is
which is
coordinating and
scheduling and
scheduling and all
yeah.
of that. So, yeah.
It was chef's kiss. It was beautiful.
Mhm.
And on the contraire, I had another individual who got super mad at me that those were the times that I
Mhm.
posted on Calendly, and basically said, like, "How do you expect someone to get a job with you if you're doing it during business hours?" And I'm like,
She
"All you had to do is just tell me that that didn't work, and
yeah.
because, hey, hey, I have a job and I can't get off. Great. I love to hear that you have a job."
She took it personally.
So, yeah, exactly. So, that being said, I was like, "Okay, this person is a no."
Yeah.
So another little mini test in there. But to keep it moving. So my third thing is to also take the time to thoroughly think through your interview questions. I used to use the generic, if you were a color,
Yeah.
what would you be? F that question. Like that question doesn't tell you anything.
I think that's a good, reference point. What would you say I wouldn't even say cumulative of all time, just from our last hiring process to our most recent hire. How much time do you think you spent just working on the process, the questions?
Um, I would say between every single hire, I tweak the questions.
Mhm.
From being a poopy interviewer to being a good interviewer, I probably put like 30 hours in.
Oh, at least.
It was a chunk,
I
and
would
then
almost say you
from
had
each
spent more.
one, I probably do 5,
Yeah.
um, and then it's getting shorter and shorter. A big thing is in the actual interview, I will notate when I think a question's flopping.
Yeah.
Like, I'll come tell you, I'm like, "Ah, this question isn't doing what I thought it was gonna
Yeah.
do," like, people are answering it
Just
just
not giving you answers that are
yeah,
good or
like, I'm asking this
relevant.
question, it's a waste of time
Yep.
because I'm not getting what I thought I was gonna get, which kinda leads me to my next thing of you can take your interview questions and go to ChatGPT and have them guide you and help you. I say them as if it's like a group of people. You can have ChatGPT or whatever AI you use help you with your interview process. A couple good questions that I used were, like, I would upload the interview and say, "What type of person am I attracting with this?" And then I would even say, like, I want to attract someone who is kind, friendly, great with the team, fast paced, handles pressure well, like just kind of the bullet point things of like, this is like what I'm looking for. How do I attract that in the interview and go from there? You see a lot of things on like TikTok and whatnot of like, oh, applicants are only chosen by AI now. And that's not what I'm talking about at all.
Yeah.
I'm just talking about trying to get your interview questions to like actually be questions that tell you something about that person versus what's your favorite color.
Right. And
Um,
I think another one is don't be scared to ask the tough question. Like, and what I mean by that is if you see gaps in their resume or you see they're at their last job for 3 months or they're like, uh, if have the opportunity to hire a previous installer, be like, why did you leave that job?
mhm.
And just, or, I've noticed you've seemed to have skipped jobs like every 6 months for the last couple years.
And people will
Why?
word vomit.
Yeah, they do. They will.
They'll
They'll
go
work.
crazy on the word
Yeah.
vomit. So, yeah, it doesn't hurt. I typically at every interview that I have a spot on my paperwork. I just same thing. I use a digital. I have it like on an iPad, which that also helps a lot to like do the iPad version. But I have a spot that says questions from resume
Yeah.
or concerns. Where I'll just ask directly. And it could even be like one person rescheduled their interview and they didn't give me a reason why. And I just said, "Hey, why'd you reschedule the interview?" And it was something like their car didn't start or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's just kinda interesting to see. So, yeah, you can ask questions. Of course, there's laws around, like, what you can and can't ask for sure. But, yeah, that's the whole point in the interview. So, anyway, that needs to be thorough, and then the second thing that helped me in regards to the interview questions is a little nerdy, But again, if you use AI, it'll happen like that. You can assign point values to the different types of questions. So my interviews flow in sections such as like team culture fit, skill aptitude, communication, kind of like those big bullet point things of like, again, what am I looking for in this person? And then I can score them like on a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being like extreme culture fit and 1 being like, holy crap, they would be horrible for the culture. What would I rate them? So it kind of assigns a numerical value to every category, and then I get an overall score. There's even a point value 1 to 5 on did they show up on time.
Yeah.
So I like it's a 5 if you show up early, basically. So it goes all the way down to that. Professionalism is
Mhm.
one. Again, pending what role you have in the company, it's different. But that really helps because I can essentially look at a list of names and I can see, okay, these are my top people. These are my bottom people without having to remember, like, oh, what did Joey say? Did I like him?
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
15 interviews in, it's like, "What was number the second interview again?"
Yeah, I can't remember. So you
Yeah.
definitely want to keep track too so that you can refer back to people because you want to remember those answers as best as you can. So point values have been really nice. That being said, if it's like neck and neck between two people, you have to take the time to actually look at their answers and be like, okay, this person had 1 point higher on communication versus skill aptitude. Which
Mhm.
one do I like? Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have to be the end all be all, but it just really helps kind of compare your applicants in like a not non-biased way.
Right.
And then this is what you were talking about earlier, the onboarding, the final kind of icing on the cake, if you will. So it's like you have made the cake. It's time to ice
Yeah.
it. Like you're not gonna give
See,
someone a bare cake.
at this point, to your cake analogy,
I
you
love
have
cake.
put in so much effort. Like, this is real, like, this is huge. Like, hiring the right people, like, your own internal team is the only thing more important than your customer because your team is the people who are serving your customer.
Yeah.
So you've put in a
I worked harder
lot.
at this than like trying to find you as my husband.
It's fair. No, that is fair. So to your baking a cake analogy, you've put in a ton of effort to get the best ingredients possible.
Mhm.
So, like, at this point, you got the ingredients. If you don't, I would say the onboarding is like you're actually mixing it together and like
Oh, okay, I went straight to frosting. Okay, my bad.
you're actually mixing it together and like baking the cake. Like, it doesn't matter how good the ingredients are that you just got. If you don't do the right makeup for the onboarding for the actual baking part, you're gonna screw it up.
Yeah, exactly. And again, this was a huge thing that actually was talked about in a lot of Layla's podcasts that I had never like if I wouldn't have listened to her, I mean, she has multiple podcasts on it.
Yeah.
So go refer back if you'd like, but I'm giving you the rap version of it. If I hadn't listened to that, I would have not had the light bulb moment of like, oh my God, I'm sucking at
Mhm.
this part. So one of the huge things that was talked about is so of course you're like, "Hey, do you want the job?" And hopefully they're like, "Yes, I'll start in 2 weeks." I always love people that already have a job. I always think that's like green flag material. I actually ask people, "Why don't you have a job? What is going on?"
Yeah.
If they don't in there. But anyway, so you have ideally a 2 week gap between the time you spoke to them and then the time you're going to see them again. And old me would just, I'll see you when I see you.
Mhm.
You knew your start date. See you then. And I realized that is super wrong. At this point, I think I have 2 or 3 touch points. I believe it's 2. So the first one is just like a, thank you so much for accepting the job. We are so excited to have you. Stay tuned for another email. It is going to include blah, 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 whatever you want it to include. Different positions have different things. So, to refer back to like my front desk person, hers had online training. So I said, you're going to get your login for your online training. You're going to get a form I need you to fill out, and you're going to get your onboarding paperwork. I'll have it to you by this date. And, looking forward to working with you.
Mhm.
So it's kind of like a you got the job and now something's in your email of like officially like, whoa, I have
Yeah.
it. And some people do ask for like the letter or whatever, and you can do
Mhm.
that as well. So then in that second email, now I added accountability because I
Yeah.
told this person on this date I'm going to do it. So if you don't do it, you already look like a bad boss and they haven't even stepped in the door yet. So it's kind of nice. So I just put it on my calendar, send email to
Mhm.
so and so.
I think it helps set the tone from before they even clock in for the first time.
Yeah, of
And
just like we're gonna run this
and
professionally and
keep in mind
organized.
the interview process they just went through of, like, we're
Hmm.
you're phone interviewing, in-person interviewing, we're making our decision on this day, your start date is this.
Yeah,
So you've already, like, set the expectation and followed through with it multiple times, and now this is just eating into it of just like, "This is where you work now, this is who we are."
yeah.
I think it helps keep that culture and that tone.
I agree, and that's where we probably said it before, but weirdly enough, I think one of our favorite compliments is, "Are you a franchise?"
Yeah,
And
it
I'm
is.
like, "No."
Mhm.
But thank you,
We just
like
got a five-star Google review complimenting our structure and,
yeah.
process here,
And
so
that being said, if you are an individual who hates that, you won't make it all the way through the interview process, but
yeah,
that's fine because that's how we run things.
right,
So it attracts the person that
yeah,
you want to your team. And if you're a wrap shop that drinks a case of beer while you wrap the car at midnight, that's great, but
yeah,
you wouldn't make it through my interview
and
process.
I apologize I cut you off, so you hit them twice, in between the "You've got the job," and "Here's your start date." So they what what's in that second email, the meat
Yeah,
of
the
the
second email is following through on what you said you were going to provide in the first email. And a huge thing I added that I've gotten a lot of good feedback on is an about me form. So it's just a Google form that I made, which is totally free to create. It gets the name they go by, which is like, fun fact, a big thing on your calendar booking because a lot of people will, like me, like my first name's Kristen. So sometimes for an interview, I would put Kristen thinking I need to do that. So
Mhm,
anyway, ask them what name they actually go by. It will eliminate so much confusion, especially if you're like me and like to like label lockers and
yeah,
stuff. But anyway, it'll ask them, nickname. It will ask them what are your favorite snacks, drinks. If I were to get you a $50 gift card, what would you want it to be for? And I think at the time they're like, why are they asking this? But it all comes back. I also ask, how do you learn best? How do you receive feedback best? How do you receive praise? And it's very interesting people's responses because we have a few people on our team that put like, do not publicly praise me. And it's like,
yeah,
wow, I would have totally messed that up because you can publicly praise me all day long
mhm,
and that'd be fine. So it's really interesting. But again, you took the time to get the answers, you have to actually use them. So that's in the first email, and like I said, training if there's that online training and all of that. And then just again, we're just hyping up, like we're so excited. Oh, reminder, this is what you need to wear on your first day. This is where you need to park. Just kind of like to get rid of those first day jitters. I just think I tell them we have a fridge if they want to bring lunch. If they want to leave for lunch, they're more than welcome. You will have a 30-minute lunch break. So I just kind of think if I was starting a new job, what would I be nervous about? And I'm kind of an anxious girl if you haven't figured that
yeah.
out by
I mean,
now.
I think
So
everyone's probably a mixture of excited and anxious
yeah.
to, start any job or go anywhere you've never been for the first time, let alone
Hmm.
you're about to walk in, meet all your coworkers and everything else. So I think you did a very good job at getting in front of that and trying to knock down any of those things you could potentially be
Yeah. And I
anxious
want the
about.
vibe to be like, we're going to take care of you.
Yeah.
Basically, like, you don't need to worry about what you're going to wear. I'm going to tell you right here. And so I'll put like, go ahead and wear jeans and a t-shirt. We'll get uniforms your first week or something like that
Yep.
so that they're not panicked. For installers, I'm like, you need to wear closed toed shoes,
Yep.
all of those things. So that has gone really well. And then that goes all the way to their first day when they show up. They walk in. I always have a gift for them with those little goodies that they said that they liked.
Mhm.
And everyone always freaks out over that. I typically always get the comment, I've never had a job do this for me before.
Yeah.
Which is funny because I actually stole that idea from a job I had in college. At a hotel I worked at, they did that. And I still remember to this day, I picked chocolate covered almonds and I
Yep.
remember in the interview, they asked me, "What's your favorite snack?" And I thought, "That's a dumb question."
Yeah.
And then when I showed up, I was like, "Oh my,
Yeah.
how did you do this?" So, anywho, the fact that it's 10 years later and I still think of that is actually why I do it here.
Mhm.
Because it made such an impact and it just shows like, oh, they like actually care about you as a
Yeah.
human. So, anywho, hire, onboard, first day, all super important. That's lesson 3. Really long-winded.
Yeah, but I mean, it's important. I would say, I mean, all of these lessons are important, but I would say, out as far as like the most tangible and biggest needle move, that was probably one of the biggest ones.
Yeah.
um,
It was
was
the biggest puzzle to solve
yeah,
of the year for sure. And I've talked about it before of like we would go to conferences and things and my question to everybody was just how many team members do you have? How did you get them? How are you hiring? And every single person's like,
yeah, yeah,
So, if you have a big team and you have different ways that you do things, I would love to hear it. You can go to wrapops.com and chat with us, Instagram, Facebook, all of that as well. Or if you are interested in being a guest on the podcast to share your knowledge for sure. Because we ran into some people at SEMA that have shops of like 30
yeah,
employees. So, would love to get some other shops on here and hear how they do things.
absolutely.
So,
Well, moving into lesson 4, it kind of, in a weird way, is a little bit of a carry on into that onboarding, or from that onboarding, which is getting the right ingredients to this. We're gonna stick with this cake analogy. So getting the
I'm
right
getting hungry.
you've done a lot of work to get the right ingredients for this cake. You've done a lot of work on making sure their onboarding is good, and onboarding lasts longer than that one day as well.
Yeah, it's onboarding and training.
Yeah, so onboarding and training, it takes more than just that first day. Now you gotta kinda keep that tone and get 'em, fully fledged into the team. Um, what goes into that is just having one-to-ones with your employees. Like, employee one-to-ones are not optional. You should absolutely be doing them. Anyone, it depends on what how your shop is tiered or how it works. But as far as your manager, whoever reports directly to you, you should be having pretty much weekly check-ins, one-to-ones with them. Um, every figure out what works. Maybe every other week will work for you, but it should not go 3 months and you haven't checked in and had a one-to-one with a team member. Um, Ideally, more frequently the better. Um, and this is going to prevent so many things. So at the end of the day, most problems are rooted in communication issues, and this eliminates the communication issue between manager and
Employee.
employee, because it just knocks down that wall, and it is not the manager's time, it is the employee's time during these one-to-ones. So the entire one-to-one is meant for the employee to have a safe space to communicate to their manager and just have an open conversation, talk to them about whatever issues they're having. um, you know Most of the time the conversation, or the majority of the time, the conversation may go professional, but it'll be a shocking amount of the times that it goes personal. Like, you'll have we cap our one-to-ones at 30 minutes. Almost never do they even go to the full time, but we cap them at 30 minutes, and there's so many of our one-to-ones, 50, 60, 80% of the one-to-one is we're talking about something personal. Whether
Yeah.
that's a personal relationship at home they're wanting to talk about, whether it's personal finance, whether it's their saving up and wanting to buy real estate, and that's just something that I've done a few times, and they just want to pick my brain and have that conversation of how do you get out of paying rent all the time and actually buy a property.
And I think the gist of that is it's naive to think that people's personal life does not affect their work life.
Oh, it absolutely
I
does.
th- I think it's really easy to put in a job description like your personal life cannot affect your work life, but that's just not how it goes. And to go back to when we first started the one-to-ones, I remember telling you that in college I had a boss who I think they were weekly, I can't remember, it might have been every other week. We had a one-to-one and I just remember bawling my eyes out in her office because my personal life was so bad.
Yeah,
And I was like going through the motions of doing the job as best as I could, but I was just like in complete shambles personally.
yeah,
And our whole conversation was her like giving me advice on like, here's what you should say, and here's the friends you should drop, and I would try this. And because the issue wasn't I was a sucky person and didn't know how to do the job and didn't want to do it. It's just there's so many other things going on outside of it that it gets so complex.
yeah.
Um,
And I
so yeah,
think as a manager, having these one-to-ones, having this open availability for your employee to share what's going on with them personally, no matter what it ever it is, like family member dies, dog sick, like, you know, boyfriend.
finances, like you brought
Yeah,
up the property, that's a finance issue
yeah.
of,
Like, it kind of like, just to your point of like, you may only see this person for 8 hours a day, but there's 16 hours that you have no idea what's going on in that
Mhm.
person's life. Like, for our team members, the 8 hours they're here, I have a pretty good understanding of what's going on and what's affecting them. But the 16 hours of the day that I'm not managing them, I don't know what's going on in their life.
Mhm.
So, and
And
that,
sometimes it's as simple as, like, they're burnout and they just need a day off,
yeah,
and it's, like, easy, take it,
yeah, exactly.
versus, like, them quitting,
Right, because
you
it
know?
might be, they might be moving and you just don't know it. So they
Mhm.
might be working 8 hours here and then going home and packing and
Sure.
dealing with the stress of that, and they're just burnt out and they need a time off. Where if we didn't have that conversation, I'm gonna see them underperforming and just be pissed at them,
Yeah,
and
which is how we used to be.
it is exactly how I used to be.
Yeah. Like I said, everything in these lessons is it's we've done it the wrong way first.
Yeah,
So
and then from that, I learned, and I'm like, "Okay, I hear you, I see you looking at the schedule. Can you make it to, next Monday? Like, if we can just get to the end of this week, take Monday off, take the long weekend, come back Tuesday fresh, would that work for you?"
mhm.
And I mean, the amount of times like, that conversation, your team members, like, face lights up. Um, they're probably more excited and working better through the week because they know they have that extra day, that they're looking forward to. They're able to rest, they come back better.
Mhm.
And it really allows you to just manage your team better because you understand they have things that are happening outside of work, and they see you as an empathetic leader, rather than a dictator, which is definitely probably a descriptive word, of probably one of the nicer descriptive words, that someone could have definitely called me as a manager,
Oh, you live
early
in
on.
nice.
As Yeah, and I've learned a
But
lot. And employee one-to-ones, you they're not optional.
but that being said, you can't fix their problems for them and you can't force them to talk about personal.
Exactly.
Like if they want to sit there silent and not talk about their personal life, like you aren't their therapist at the end of the day. And I know there's been times you've come to me and you're like, I let them vent because I don't feel like I should get involved in this one.
Yeah,
But or you ask, are you looking for advice or are you just looking to vent?
right.
So that you can do that. So don't feel like you like have to solve their problems and be their therapist and take on all their problems, but it's more of just like you need to know the problems are there so
Yeah,
that you can lead effectively based on
and
that.
to that point, your job is still the manager to hit the results and the key performance indicators,
Hmm.
that you need your team to hit. And that is that fine line as a manager that I've had to dance as well, of like, I hear you. I see all the stuff you're going through. You can turn it, instead of just giving them advice, ask them, like, okay, what is something you're doing to make that situation better?
Hmm.
And then at that point, if someone's going through something, you should definitely have more frequent one-to-ones, because you're there as you're their kind of support person, honestly. um, but anyway, you can check in the next week, like, okay, well, how did that work? Did what you said you were going to try to do? Is that working on solving your problem? No. Okay, what's the next one? Because at the end of the day, if their personal life is affecting their work performance, that is a manager's problem. Like, it's like,
And that being said, it doesn't mean it's a free for all to where like you can completely suck at your job every single day
right,
and like you always get away with it. Cause that's also been an issue too, where you're like, they're telling me this and this, but like it's been going on for 6 months.
right,
To
and
where
you,
you have to start saying, "I hear you, I see the problems, but, like, at this point,
yeah,
it's, like, out of my capacity to help you with, and it's overly affecting your job performance."
yep,
Which is a tough conversation, but, uh, it you can at least sleep good knowing that you tried to help them for X amount of time, and there's only so much, like, you can do.
yeah.
So
And most of the one-to-ones are very positive and honestly very quick.
and that being said, a one-to-one can't just be, "Hey, here's your list of mess ups.
Yeah, no,
Let's
it
discuss them."
absolutely.
That's really not the tone of it.
Yeah, the one-to-ones again are for the employee.
Mhm,
So, what I mean by that is, from a manager, you should be, high-fiving them, telling them what you've noticed they've done, and then continuously opening them up that floor. Is
and I
there
would
is
say
there
if
something you wanna talk about? Like, is there anything that I can do more of or less
yeah,
of to make your life better? Is there a growth goal? Like, what do you wanna be when you grow up? Like,
mhm,
it should all be you pouring into them to figure out how you can help grow, develop, support. your employee.
That being said, though, if there is something that keeps happening that you want to address, I think you can still address it. It's just not in attack mode. It's a, hey, this is something I'm noticing. Can you tell me a little bit about this? Like,
Yeah.
tell me what's happening on your end because I'm like a little bit in the dark about it. Like I'm noticing your demeanor is really off and you're not participating in team meetings anymore. What's going on? Like, is everything okay?
Hmm.
So it's more about your approach to what they're doing wrong, and you're just gonna ask them questions about it versus like, "Hey, I noticed you pulled that panel 3 times, like, do you not know how to wrap that?"
Right.
Basically of like, "Hey, what's going like, is there something on training that was off?" And maybe it's something silly like, "Oh, I just could not figure out how to get the door handle off, and I had to wrap around it, and I'd never done that, blah, blah, blah."
Hmm.
And so anyway, that being said, 'cause, I think that could be a area of confusion of like, you're not allowed to tell them something they're doing wrong. It's just you're not allowed to
Yeah.
attack them.
No, and that's a good point. Ideally, you keep the one-to-one a positive feeling to the employee. So if every time they come in, you're just saying, "Hey, you like fix this, fix this, fix this. You screwed this up,"
Mhm,
then they're going to have a negative feeling to coming into your office. You
mhm.
want to try to keep it light and positive. The idea is when there is something negative that needs to be talked about, that ideally is addressed as near to the moment as
Well, yeah.
possible, and that you just pull them on the floor right then and there, ask the question, "Hey, what happened here? This is wrong," or whatever.
Mhm.
That way, when it gets to the one-to-one, you don't even have to talk about it. You've already talked about it on the floor.
Good point. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, your
Obviously.
feedback on that should be immediate.
Right, and sometimes, you don't it's not a perfect world. Sometimes you do need to it might be 90% of the meeting is positive, "This is awesome," and then 10%, "Hey, here's the one thing we should work on this week. I noticed this. Let's do this instead."
Yeah. And I think a big one for our team is just like, "Hey, we need to, like, move our hands a little bit faster." And
Yeah,
it's like, "Okay."
yeah,
And that's that.
and that's
So,
just part of having a green team that's learning. They know how to get there, they just don't know how to get there in a sports car yet. They're still driving speed limit.
yeah. And they also can provide you feedback on, like, "I know this is what you want, but I don't know how to do it." And then
Mhm,
you realize, "Oh, I haven't even taught you that." And so it also identifies training gaps as
right.
well. So would that be the icing on the cake? Or is the cake complete?
I think the cake is complete.
The
Yeah.
cake is complete, and then you rinse and repeat, and you keep doing that while you keep training, and they go through their career ladder. So for 2025, that has been me and you's biggest like growth as leaders here for sure.
Yeah.
So hopefully you guys can get something from that. And we have one final lesson that we're going to walk away. And this one is brief, but if you haven't already figured it out from listening to this wonderful, amazing podcast, the rap industry has a lot of allies for you. There are so many people that want you to succeed and want to collaborate with you and want to help you versus the other. And I think sometimes, especially if you're in those Facebook groups, it feels the opposite. Um, I don't know what that's about. I don't know if it's just there's keyboard warriors on Facebook, but I promise you, if you start attending events, which we always highly recommend, you have SEMA, you have ISA, RapsCon, you have all of these different in person events you can go to. Walk up to someone who you think is like celebrity status and just ask them a question and just say like, I'm really struggling with this, have you figured this out? One of our like biggest eye-opening moments was I think we DM'd Bruno
Mhm.
with Metro Raps a question, and he immediately responded with his personal phone number and said,
Yeah,
"Call anytime."
and this was, like, 8 years ago,
This was a long
7 years
time
ago,
ago,
yeah.
and then I got
I don't
into another pickle, I don't know, 3 years ago, and I could not figure it out, and I was like, "I'm just gonna call him again."
Yeah.
So I, like, shot him a message, I was like, "Don't know if you remember me, but, this like, I've tried everything, I can't figure this out, can I have 5 minutes of your time?" And he immediately called me,
Mhm.
and walked me through, like, "This is what my shop does, and, this is what I recommend for you." So that being said, there's so many people that want to help you, so don't just suffer in silence. If you have a problem, ask, of course, you can go to rapops.com and ask
Mhm.
your question there, and we will do our best to make an episode out of it. But even just a DM to someone, and we've found that DMs go better than the Facebook.
Yeah.
I don't know. I would not post a question in the Facebook ones. They make me nervous. Andrew's probably better than me on that.
You have to have some thick skin, and then you have
Yeah.
to understand,
You have to understand who's
the
answering the
kind of the
question too. Sometimes I'm like, what in the world?
yeah,
That answer is way wrong.
pay attention to who you're getting advice from. Not everyone you want advice from.
Yeah.
But the saying is collaboration is at the top. and competition is at the bottom.
Mhm.
So if you're and that's I think where you have those Facebook groups and why there's so much negative too is there's just some negative mindset business owners out there with a scarcity mindset of
There's not enough business for
there's
everyone.
not enough business
Mhm.
for everyone. And I can tell you now as our area's largest wrap shop from like output. We do $1 million a year just strictly in sticky back vinyl.
Mhm.
And I can't drive 10 minutes without seeing the majority of stuff that drives by me that I didn't do.
Mhm.
It just is like there's so much work out there
Yeah.
for all of us. So the collaboration at the top, that kind of abundance mindset, there's a large part of the industry that has that belief and feels that way, and or will be more than likely to help you out. I had a guy call earlier today from um, Springfield, which is like, I don't know, maybe 30 minutes north. And he was asking if, I guess he's just going out on his own and asked if we would do print only for him. And he was so stand backish of like, but I'm not in your area. I
Mhm.
don't, and I'm like, dude, it's good. There's plenty of stuff to go around. Like I'll print for you. Like we're
Yeah.
good.
And that's a good idea too. Like if a shop does, we did this a long time ago.
Hmm.
A shop would wrap something and post it on Instagram, and like back in the day, it was like the Challenger bumpers,
Hmm.
and we're like, how the heck did they do that? And
Yeah.
we would literally call
Hmm.
and be like, can you like we're wrapping the same car all the way in Dayton, Ohio. How did you tackle those bumpers? And you would be amazed to see those people light up because everyone loves to talk about themselves,
Yeah.
and so you're never in the wrong to ask. Now, if you call and say, "What's your pricing? I want to copy it." We have
Yeah.
gotten that
That's
call before. That one was kinda weird.
Yeah, that one's annoying because that's like a whole nother thing, but to that point, our printer went down a few weeks ago,
Mhm.
and I called another shop that I knew had an HP, had the same printer as us, and anyway, they immediately ran me back to their print operator and put me on the phone with their print operator so we could start asking the questions. Unfortunately, they hadn't had that problem and they didn't know the answer, but,
Yeah.
to the point is the other shops, there's a lot of other shops out there, us included. It's the whole reason behind the podcast, uh, of that are more than willing to help you. Um, you just have to ask the right questions, and please, for the love of God, when you get some answers, like actually execute on the answers. Go back to lesson one here. If you've identified that problem, like, and then you get answers to how to solve the problem, like do them. Because that would be the only annoying thing is if someone keeps calling us back, they're like, I have this issue, and then they call back, I have this issue, and it's like, we've already told you how to solve that problem.
Yeah. But that
So
doesn't happen too often.
no, it doesn't. It
But
doesn't.
yeah, so those are our main 5 lessons that we learned in 2025. So we really invite you to reflect on a couple things here. So the first one is, what is the hardest task that you are avoiding in your business? And what is one thing that will make the huge difference for you in 2026? Hint, it's probably the same thing. The hardest thing is probably the biggest thing that's going
Mhm.
to move the needle. And how can you break that into bite-sized pieces so that you can actually conquer it with a realistic timeline? Me and Andrew can be the first to speak that we thought we would fix our whole business and be billionaires in 2 years, and that is so far from
No
the truth.
chance.
So, what is one thing you can do in 2026 to move the needle? And let's start chipping away on it and focus on
Yeah.
it. And that's really it to close us out here. So, thank you for listening to our podcast with me and Andrew. It's a little bit lengthier, but we're just kind of analyzing the whole year, and it was a lot to discuss. So be sure to like and subscribe, follow us on Instagram, follow us on Facebook, all of the above. And we would love if you could leave us a review. If anything in this was helpful to you, please leave us a review, share it with some other wrap shop friends that you may have, and we will catch you in the next episode.
The Rap Institute, the largest online rap training platform, now with a special offer. Use our code RAPOPS15 for 15% off your order.